Hello friends, I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? Hope everything is good and great and wonderful. I hit a wall, and there comes a time in any project that I'm not sure of the outcome. There's usually a wall or multiple walls that I hit. Whether it's woodworking or parenting or life, or in this case today programming, I hit a wall. And I know this feeling so well, this like sinking, overwhelmed feeling of, call it inadequacy or stupidity or just frustration. I don't know what to call it, but there's this point where when I was building M's desk last year, I hit a point in that project where I just couldn't see how to fix the problems that I had created. Or the art box for Roland, same thing. I created a problem and I couldn't see how to fix it. And it just gets to this point where I get this super sinking feeling that is so hard to overcome. The vast majority of my life, I've just completely abandoned whatever it is I was doing that gave me that feeling. You know, I would get to a level of competency with something that I felt I could achieve what I wanted, and then I would try to take it to the next step. I would get overwhelmed, and I would just give up. And I've done that my whole life on all sorts of fronts. And so while this, today, what I'm going to talk about here in a second is programming related. It's really not about the programming. It's about this feeling. And it's about this trying to figure out a way to overcome that being overwhelmed. But I hit a point in No Rogues Allowed development this past weekend where I realized that I've been fighting a fight that's not worth fighting. It's not that it's not worth it. I set up a really cool control structure for developing a big amalgamation of data that I can then pull information out of, and it works well. The problem is it's again to the point where it's overwhelmingly it's going to be very overwhelming very soon, because I'm not using classes, because I'm not in any shape or form. Function names start to have to get weird because I can't just use generic function names because they're not protected, that sort of stuff. Protected meaning inside of a class. So I need to convert the code. I need to do it all. I need to, not all of it. Not in fact, a lot of it can stay. But I need to convert all of the things. And what I mean by that is in a you think about it as if you were going to create a tabletop role-playing game, you need to know the parameters of that game. You need to have, there are going to be things that your character can hold, right? So there's going to be weapons, there's going to be armor, shields, whatever. Those are things, right? And then there's also the broader scope of inside the game things. So in your tabletop RPG, you have a map. That's a thing. It's a physical thing. And in the game, there's also that thing. In my particular instance, there's not a map. I'm not making, there's nothing you can move through visually. So instead of a map, I have a room. So you attack my game, you go through my game one room at a time. So that room is a thing. That room is an object that can hold other things. And in that room, there might be containers. So when you're adventuring in your dungeon and you find a chest, there's going to be a chest and you open it and there's something inside, or maybe there's nothing inside. So that room has to contain things, and that container has to contain things. And it becomes difficult to manage all of that stuff later on down the road. Right now, the code works great. It's fine. I can leave the site as it is for now, and it'll work just fine. It's not a big deal. But once it starts to get more complex, once I start having to do game structure on top of all of that and manipulate those things, that's when it starts to get a little bit screwy. And the one use case that I found that's really the reason that I want to convert all of the code is everything in this game is represented by text. There's not going to be any graphics. So when you walk into a room, when you enter a new room, a new game room. It'll give you a line of text that describes the room. It'll give you a line of text that describes any enemies or encounters in that room. It'll give you a line of text that describes containers in that room, or maybe there's multiple containers, so you get multiple lines of that. And if those containers contain things, there's lines of text for that. Well, each of those things has a unique way of generating that text because they have different elements that make them up. So weapons have an element like flaming or whatever, but nothing else has that. So weapons have to have their own unique way of displaying their name. And so in order for me to pack all that stuff into a save state and then pull it out and generate those lines of text, I have to kind of just loop through all of them and print them out. And that means that I have to have all of these little functions figured out for each one of those things, and then I have to know what I'm trying to describe. So I'd have to know it's a room, and then I can use the room description function to generate the room's description. And it's just bad. It's bad. Whereas, with classes, I could have just get description. And I could just pull all of those things and just get the description of all of them and print them out, and it would be done. So I need to do it. I need to convert it. The problem is I don't know how to do it. I have literally never programmed. I've never created a class of my own, ever. I've worked in Laravel, and Laravel uses models, eloquent models, to create classes for me based on my database structure. But I've never actually thought about how to create classes because I don't use them. The vast majority of my CRUD software, I don't need it. It's just like excess stuff, right? It's just, for the most part, I'm just getting something out of a database and printing it on the screen, and I don't need a class to do that. I do use a database class, but that's a different story. So I have no experience doing this, and I feel super overwhelmed by it. And I've shared the code with some friends who are very competent programmers, and their criticisms are all very, very valid. The problem is I have no clue how to fix it, not even where to start fixing it. And that's when I start to get that overwhelmed feeling. And today was like, I'm just going to stop. Like, I just don't even want to work on it right now because I don't understand how to go forward. And maybe that's it. Maybe I do just stop for a while, but I know myself, if I give up on it right now, I'll never come back. I'll never find it interesting again. It'll never be what. So I need to figure out a way to learn class-based structure. I need to figure out a couple of design patterns that make sense for my game and try really hard to convert everything over. And then hopefully, what I really need is a programming partner. I really need just somebody who can hold my hand and help me through all of this because I have no clue how to do it myself. And, the problem is this is not like a paid thing. I can't, I'm never going to make income from this. Or if I do, that's years down the road. I can't afford to hire a tutor, or I would. It's just tough, So there's this overwhelming feeling, and it's literally a feeling. Like it makes my chest feel tight, and I get nauseous about it. I get tenseness in my neck. Really strange, and I've felt it so many times in my life, and I've abandoned so many things because that feeling hurts. I will say though, since M has come into my life in the past years, I have had this feeling so many times, and a lot of those projects have been completed. She's helped me push through it. So I'm hoping I can push through this. I've already started to kind of convert some things, but I don't think it's correct. I don't know what I'm doing. So I need to figure out a quick way to learn so that I can keep maintaining the forward momentum on the project while I'm learning. And I don't know what that is yet. I don't like being overwhelmed. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. And I don't know how normal people push through that. I feel like it's a very unique situation to me. Like I don't see other people get overwhelmed like that. I see people who at work specifically who hit problems that they don't understand, but they just keep working through it. I have a really hard time continuing to work on something when I don't know how to do it. I can't just try. Like, usually when I try, it's because I have some goofy method I can always rely on, you know. That's kind of like what I was talking about yesterday, like just the free form, I'll just go for it. Like I can do that when I know, when it's open-ended, when I can just do whatever I want, I always know there's a way. Like I can figure out that way. But when I have to now take that kind of loose free-form stuff and stuff it into this very rigid structure, that's when I'm lost. And I'm like, I'll do it wrong. Like I don't know what to do. I'd love advice if you have any. Yeah, that's what I got. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I will see you tomorrow. Today's word you should know is bellwether. It is a noun meaning a leading indicator or factor in determining a course of action or outcome. The fact that Robert got thrown out of Groton and Exeter was a bellwether for his lackadaisical years at Dartmouth. Bellwether. Bellwether.